Hi, this is Alex, and this is a new story on my channel.
Am I the asshole for telling my sister she ruined her life marrying her husband during my wedding toast? So, yeah, the title probably makes me sound like some cartoon villain in a rom-com, the bitter single sister who storms into the wedding with mascara streaks and a martini in hand, yelling, "Yo, regret this!" Well, everyone clutches their pearls. But let me start from the beginning. I'm a 28F. My sister, Emily, 26F, just got married this past weekend to Brad, 31M. Names changed, obviously, because my family is basically on a group witch hunt right now, and I don't need this going viral and ending up in our local paper. For context, Emily and I grew up close. Well, close-ish. The kind of sisters who would defend each other to death against outsiders, but also could fight over a sweater so viciously that Mom threatened to install security cameras in our rooms. I'm the older one by 2 years, which automatically made me the responsible one, according to our parents, which I leaned into maybe a little too hard. Translation, I've been accused more than once of being controlling or bossy, but I prefer to think of myself as preventing stupid decisions in advance. And Emily, she's always been the spontaneous, passionate one, the life is short, let's book the trip, adopt the dog, and dye her hair purple at 3 a.m. type. She's fun, she's magnetic, and people fall in love with her instantly. Unfortunately, that includes some very questionable men. That brings us to Brad. Emily has always been magnetic in the way that those bug zappers are magnetic. You're drawn in by the light, and then you either get a warm glow or a fatal shock. Growing up, she was the girl everyone at school wanted to sit next to. She could charm the teachers into moving deadlines, charm the principal into forgetting she skipped class, charm our parents into letting her stay out late, and charm me into covering for her more than I can count. I was the brains, she was a spark, and together we somehow didn't burn the house down. But here's the thing. For all her charm, Emily has terrible taste in men. I'm not talking, oh, they're just not my type. I'm talking guys who have two jobs, one legit, one cash only, and three ex-girlfriends who all mysteriously hate her. Guys who forget their wallets at dinner. Guys who say things like, you don't need college when you've got ambition, babe, while living in their mom's basement. Brad was, honestly, not even the worst of them, which is terrifying in itself. When she first introduced us 2 years ago, he seemed fine. He was a little too into crypto, wore too much cologne, and had that salesman smile where you feel like he's trying to close a deal on your soul. But nothing major. At least, not at first. But the more I saw him, the more cracks showed. The jokes at Emily's expense that went a little too far. The way he'd brush off things she clearly cared about, like her art classes, calling them cute hobbies. The constant networking with women on Instagram who just happen to live in bikinis. Oh, and the debt, mountains of it, which was apparently fine because, and I quote, once my side hustle takes off, we'll be millionaires. I tried bringing this up to Emily a few times. The first time she laughed and said I was being dramatic. The second time she got defensive and accused me of being jealous, LOL. Babe, a third time she flat out told me I was toxic for trying to sabotage her happiness. So I backed off. Sort of. I didn't actively interfere after that, but I definitely kept my eyes open. And the red flags, yeah, they just kept stacking up like an unstable Jenga tower. I wish I could say my dislike for Brad was just a vague vibe thing. You know, the kind of gut feeling you can't quite explain but later turn out to be right about. Unfortunately, I have receipts, a whole drawer of them if we're being metaphorical. The first big red flag happened about 6 months into their relationship. Emily had invited me and a couple of friends over for dinner. She was excited because Brad had offered to cook. Except when I got there, Emily was in the kitchen alone, clearly stressed, making pasta with jarred sauce, while Brad was sitting in the living room watching YouTube videos about luxury watches. When I asked why she was cooking, she said Brad had a headache and needed to conserve his energy for his meeting tomorrow. I didn't say anything in the moment, but later I found out the meeting was just him helping his friends sell vape pens at a car meet. Then there was the car situation. Brad had this souped up bright yellow sports car that he was obsessed with. I found out he'd been making Emily cover the car insurance because he was in between paychecks. She paid it for 6 months straight. 6 months! And every time I asked her about it, she'd just say, "It's temporary, babe. You don't get it. He's building something big." Oh, and the cheating rumors. Those started about a year in. A mutual acquaintance told me they'd seen Brad out with a woman who definitely wasn't Emily, holding hands in the mall food court like they were in a Hallmark movie. When I confronted Emily gently about it, she said the woman was a client and the hand holding was just a European thing. For reference, neither Brad nor the woman is European. Brad gets winded walking upstairs. He's not out here sipping espresso in Milan. But the absolute worst was the way he talked to her, not screaming or throwing things that would be almost easier to call out. No, he was a death by a thousand cuts kind of guy. Little digs about her weight, like, "You're gonna eat that? Thought you were watching your figure." Mocking her family, including me, in that "just kidding" tone. Undermining her in group conversations. It's like he chipped away at her confidence one sarcastic comment at a time. I tried talking to my parents about it. My mom sighed and said Emily would have to learn the hard way. My dad muttered something about keeping the peace. Translation, they didn't want to get involved. Meanwhile, I felt like the only one who could see the giant flashing "do not enter" sign above this relationship. So yeah, by the time the wedding rolled around, my patience had been worn down to a sad little nub. I had already decided that if anyone asked me for my honest opinion, I'd give it. No sugarcoating. What I hadn't decided yet was that I'd do it into a microphone in front of 120 people. The wedding was at this fancy barn venue, the kind with fairy lights, mason jars, and strategically distressed wood that probably cost more than my entire rent for the year. Emily had been talking about this day since she was 15, so despite everything, I genuinely wanted it to be perfect for her. I told myself on the drive there, smile, clap, eat cake, go home. That was my plan. Keep it civil, no drama, just grate your teeth and survive the day. Of course, the universe laughed at my little plan. From the moment I arrived, it felt like the wedding had the weird energy. My mom was fussing over table placements like we were negotiating peace treaties. Brad was strutting around like he was the celebrity guest of his own reality show. And Emily, she looked gorgeous, yes, but also a little tired. Like she just finished running a marathon where the prize was a man with a crypto wallet and a trust me grow business plan. During the ceremony, I kept my cool. I clapped, I smiled for photos. I didn't roll my eyes when Brad winked at his groomsmen after saying, "I do." But at the reception, I made the mistake of sitting with my cousins who know me too well. "Bet you're dying to say something," my cousin Jenna whispered, smirking. I laughed it off, but another cousin chimed in, "Someone should. We all know she could do better." That little seed was planted. And then came the champagne. I'm not saying I was drunk. I wasn't. But let's just say my filter was on vacation. Each glass took me from "be polite" to "life is short, speak your truth." When the DJ announced that it was time for speeches, I genuinely wasn't planning on saying anything. I thought it would just be the maid of honor, best man, maybe my dad. But then someone, to this day, I don't know who, handed me the mic and said, "You're her sister. You have to say something." I should have said no. I should have just toasted to love and happiness and sat down. But I looked at Emily, in her big white dress, next to Brad's smug grin, and I thought, if I don't say something now, I never will. And so I stood up. The thing about speaking into a microphone at a wedding is that time gets weird. 30 seconds feels like 30 minutes, and every face is staring at you like you're about to deliver either the most heartfelt declaration of love or the most awkward stand-up set in history. I started out fine, safe territory. "I just want to say how beautiful my sister looks today." Cue Paulette applause. "And how happy I am to see her so in love." Cue smiles from people who don't know what's coming. Then I started talking about our childhood, the Barbie haircuts gone wrong, the middle school talent shows, the time we tried to make brownies and accidentally set off the smoke alarm so badly the fire department showed up. People were laughing. I was charming. I could have stopped there. But then I glanced at Brad. He was smirking at his phone. During my speech, my blood pressure spiked, so I pivoted. I've always been the protective older sister, sometimes maybe too protective. And when Emily started dating Brad, I'll be honest, I had my doubts. The room got quieter. Not silent, but that kind of tense buzz where people sense the train about to derail. But Emily assured me Hugh was the one, and as time went on, I realized something. She's stubborn as hell. Nervous laughter. And today, watching her marry this man, I just want to say, and here's where my mouth went on autopilot, completely bypassing my brain. Emily, you are making the biggest mistake of your life, and I hope I'm wrong, but I love you enough to say it out loud. There was a half second of stunned silence, like the air got sucked out of the barn. Then, a gasp from my aunt. Someone's fork clattered onto a plate. Fred muttered, "What the actual F," under his breath. Emily's face went from shocked smile to frozen, like she'd been slapped. She didn't say anything, she just stared at me. I tried to recover something about, "But no matter what, I'll be here for you," but the damage was already done. When I handed the mic back, the DJ just didn't make eye contact. When I sat down, it felt like the entire barn was pulsing with secondhand embarrassment. You know that heat that creeps up your neck when something deeply awkward happens? Multiply that by 120 people, and you've got the atmosphere of the room. I tried to pick up my champagne glass, but my hand was shaking so badly I nearly spilled it. Brad, meanwhile, was staring at me like I just keyed his precious yellow sports car. He leaned over to Emily and whispered something, and she immediately stood up and walked out. Not walked like a casual bathroom break, walked like stormed. Dress gathered in one hand, veil swishing, heels clacking with purpose. My mom gave me a look that could curdle milk. My dad sighed like he'd just lost a long, exhausting battle. Across the table, my cousin Jenna mouthed, "Oh my God," in slow motion. Brad got up and followed Emily out, leaving the maid of honor to awkwardly fill the gap with a story about their first date, which now felt like a eulogy. People avoided looking at me, except my uncle, who actually gave me a little thumbs up, which, thanks, I guess. About 10 minutes later, Emily came back. Eyes red, mascara slightly smudged, but still wearing that practiced wedding day smile. She didn't look at me once. Brad followed, hand on her back like he was staking a claim. The rest of the reception was strained. I danced with some cousins to make it look like I wasn't about to melt into the floor, but every time I caught sight of Emily, she was either surrounded by her bridal party or deep in whispered conversation with Brad. At one point, I thought about going over to apologize, but then I overheard her say, "She's dead to me," and decided maybe the dance floor was safer. By the end of the night, people had clearly split into camps. Camp, you were brave and said what we're all thinking, mostly my cousins, a couple of friends. Camp, you ruined her wedding and should be banished to the shadow realm. My mom, the maid of honor, at least 3 aunts. As I left, my phone started lighting up with texts, half supportive, half furious. One read, "You better fix this before it's too late." Another, "Legend." I didn't reply to any of them. I just drove home in silence, the kind where your brain replays every word you said on loop until you start bargaining with the universe to invent time travel. The morning after the wedding, I woke up with that kind of hangover that wasn't from alcohol so much as regret. My head was pounding, and my phone was buzzing nonstop, and my first coherent thought was, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe no one even remembers. Yeah, they remembered. The first thing I saw was a Facebook post from my Aunt Linda. "Some people don't understand the meaning of love, commitment, and respect. Sad." No names, but come on. The comments section was basically a buffet of thinly veiled subtweets aimed at yours truly. Then came Instagram. My feed was full of tagged wedding photos. I kept scrolling, half hoping someone had posted a cute candid of me to distract from the incident, but nope. All I saw were smiling group shots, conspicuously without me in them.
In the one picture I was in, I looked like a Victorian ghost haunting the buffet table. The group chats were even worse. Family chat. Mostly silent, except for my mom dropping a "we'll cuck later" in the morning, which is basically a death sentence. Cousins chat blowing up with memes about speaking your truth and reaction gifs of people spitting out drinks. Half of them said they admired me, half said I had big villain energy. Work friends chat, someone sent a screenshot of Aunt Linda's post with, "Is this about you?" followed by 30 crying laughing emojis. Then Emily texted, just one line, "I don't want to hear from you again until you can apologize for humiliating me." No love M, no emojis, just pure frost. Brad, unsurprisingly, did not reach out, but he did post a photo of himself kissing Emily with the caption, "Haters gonna hate, we're built different." The comments were full of heart emojis and "y'all are goals" from people who clearly weren't at the wedding. By day 2, mutual friends were reaching out to say they didn't want to get in the middle, but also thought I was kinda harsh. Day 3, my mom finally called. She didn't yell, which somehow was worse. She just said she was disappointed and that I'd crossed a line you can't uncross. And yet, in between the shame and the anxiety, there was still this stubborn little voice in my head whispering, "But you weren't wrong." By day 4, the adrenaline had worn off and I was just left with the quiet. That's the part nobody tells you about after you blow something up. The silence that follows. It's like being the only one awake after an argument at 3 a.m., sitting there replaying everything in your head, hearing the echo of your own voice saying the thing you wish you could unsay. I kept asking myself, did I do it for her? Or did I do it for me? If I'm brutally honest, there's a mix of both. I do believe Brad is bad news. Every instinct I have is screaming that he'll hurt her eventually. But was a wedding toast the right place to deliver that message? Probably not. Did it need to be public? Definitely not. Part of me wanted to believe I was saving her, swooping in as the big sister to protect her from herself. But another part? Yeah, maybe I was angry. Angry that she ignored me every time I tried to warn her. Angry that she accused me of being jealous when all I wanted was for her to choose someone who treated her like she deserved. Angry that everyone else just sat there, smiling, pretending like everything was fine while she married a man I'm 99% sure will be a walking midlife crisis cliche in 10 years. And then there's the ego thing. I can't lie. There's a certain satisfaction in being the one who says what everyone's thinking. In the moment, I felt powerful, righteous, like I was pulling back the curtain. That little hit of self-importance is addicting, right up until the crash. Now, the crash is all I feel. I keep thinking about her face when I said those words. The way her smile just disappeared. That's gonna live in my head forever. The kicker is, I'm not sure my words will change anything. People rarely leave someone because their sibling made an awkward speech. If anything, I might have pushed her closer to him because now I'm the bad guy in their story. So here I am, stuck between two truths. 1, I think she made a huge mistake marrying him. 2, I probably made a bigger mistake telling her that in front of everyone. So now I'm here, typing this out to strangers on the internet because I honestly don't know which version of me is the real one. The protective sister who tried to speak up, or the self-centered jerk who hijacked her sister's wedding to make it about herself. I've played it over in my head, trying to rewrite the moment. What if I'd kept it short and sweet? What if I'd just toasted to their happiness and swallowed my doubts? What if I'd waited until the honeymoon was over to talk to her privately? But I did it. I looked at my sister on what should have been the happiest day of her life, and I told her she was making the biggest mistake she'd ever make, into a microphone, in front of our entire family, her friends, his friends, people who didn't even know me but will forever remember me as that sister. She still hasn't responded to my apology text. My mom says she might not for a long time. Brad has blocked me on social media. No complaints there. And apparently there's already a running joke among the bridal party about pulling my name whenever someone says something blunt. I keep swinging between feeling like a hero and feeling like a homewrecker. Except it's not a home yet. It's a brand new house with shoddy plumbing, and I just set fire to the porch. Was I horribly wrong? Was I right in the wrong way? Or was I just another drunk bridesmaid cliche who let her mouth run ahead of her brain?